I'm Sierra, the astounding actress.
I'm Sarah G, the cultural connoisseur.
I'm Frankie Ashen, the portentous professor, and this is Sunkissed Pod,
the podcast that goes there.
Sunkissed Pod is the creative space where we talk about popular media, self-exploration, and the world around us.
Come sit at our table and kiki with the girls and ladies.
Hey guys!
Hello.
Oh, I'm glad that we're back for a second time.
Hello,
hey Frankie!
Sarah. Hello, Sierra.
Hello! Hey Sierra! Okay, so this is a companion episode to the friendship episode that we did a couple weeks ago. And basically we're going to play a game called Where Should We Begin? So as I was talked about in the last friendship episode, I talked about the psychotherapist, Esther Perel, and I've been following her podcast, Where Should We Begin, for a couple years now. Basically, she's a therapist, and she sits down and she talks to a couple anonymously about their relationships. And one of my favorite episodes is when she did it with two men friends who grew up. They're both Southeast Asian or Southwest Asian, and they grew up in a small town, and they were just talking about their friendship, and I kind of fell in love with her. And then I kept listening to her podcast, and she came out with a card game called Where Shall We Begin? And I was so excited. I bought it. It was $40. I know that's expensive, but I had to get the game because I wanted to play with my friends. High quality. I wanted to play with my friends. So I remember the first friend I played with was Hector, my bestie, so I talked to him, and then I had a great time playing with Sierra and Frankie during our Thanksgiving, Friendsgiving, right? And the purpose of this, that was sweet. And the purpose of this game is to just build more intimacy with your relationships. So, and I felt like I got closer to Frankie and Sierra. I felt like I got closer to Hector. And the card game asks challenging questions that really makes you stop and think. And I thought it'd be great for us to come on the pod and to do it together, whether we can answer these questions in relation to our own friendship or into friendship in general. So where should we begin? The first question is, what is a blind spot that you have?
Yeah, I was gonna say, when it comes to friendships, I think sometimes it can be difficult. And we just talked about this in our companion episode, and even recently in between, like, expectations and communicating expectations can be really hard, especially when it feels like we live in a society that has like social scripts about everything. So when your friend does something that you don't really like, you shouldn't be too upset because at least it's not your romantic partner, like XYZ. There's different values to these relationships, but sometimes I think communicating expectations can be difficult, especially for me. When growing up, I was considered the judgmental friend, but it really was like me having these high expectations that no one was meeting because I also wasn't sharing them. I just had this feeling like people should know to treat each other in this way, or to have this value, or to be interested in this thing to keep up a friendship. And I think that was a blind spot that I still take with me, which is like reminding myself that you have to communicate those expectations and those boundaries in order to feel like you're in a friendship that like you're being listened to and seen for who you are, not just your role as friend. So that's a blind spot. I feel I have quite persistently through my years.
Good.
What about you, Sierra?
I think a blind spot that I have is, I would say that I think I have a hard time kind of believing that people are what they are, like in terms of their behavior and the things that they do. Like, they say if someone shows you who they are, you believe them. I have a hard time kind of like believing it. And as I mentioned in the other episode, for me, it's like, I don't want to believe that somebody feels a certain way about something, or I don't want to believe that that's how they carry themselves in situations where, it's kind of like, okay, I gotta think fast. How am I gonna, like, you know what I mean? I don't like to go based off of that. And I kind of find myself getting hurt in that process because I'm so trusting, and I'm like, no, it's okay. And it's like, I feel like that's like a oof, a rough patch for me.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I understand that because it is like sometimes I feel going into relationships is like I don't trust you until I do, which sometimes
Yeah.
gets in the way of those moments of vulnerability in order to start to trust someone. But it's protection.
Right. Right.
That's interesting about trust. Like some people give trust automatically and then you have to break it.
Right.
Or some people believe in earning trust. So what do you guys believe in? Do you believe in earning trust or trust is given, but once it's broken, it's broken? Like I'm going to lend, or is it like a case by case situation?
Definitely case by case for me.
Yeah. 'Cause I guess some people do appear more trustworthy than others.
Definitely.
So it's easier to give trust to someone who may appear more trustworthy than someone who doesn't. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Another question is, when is a time that you felt rejected? And I think I'm going to start with my answer. Let's see. I think I talked about this in the previous episode. No, actually, I'm going to talk about this. This was in church. I used to go to a non-denominational church when I was in middle school, high school, and I used to be really close to this. It was a white church, so there was a lot of white people around, but they were like liberal white people, so, solid white people.
They were
But
immediately a perceived danger.
yeah, there wasn't immediate perceived danger. But this other girl, she was Latino, and we immediately bonded because I was black, she was Latino, and there wasn't a lot of ethnic people in the space, so we kind of immediately bonded. And then we were hanging out, talking around, walking around the church. It's summer, so Sunday school isn't really a thing in the summer during church. So there's like a quick church ceremony for the kids, and then like
Vacation
we hang
Bible
out and play in
school?
the park. Yeah. Well, yeah, the kind of SEP is only day.
Okay, gotcha.
So why the parents are in service, our service is shorter, and we can hang out and talk
Yep,
around.
I got what you're saying. Yep.
And like she made a new friend, and it was a white woman. And I said something weird that just like drew them off, and they immediately like started mean girling me. And I was like, "Oh, at church?"
At church makes sense.
Yeah,
in my understandings, but not lived experience.
Yeah, but I immediately like we were cool, we were getting along. I don't remember what I said. I just know maybe it was just socially awkward in some way, clearly, because it signaled to them that, oh, we shouldn't talk to her anymore. And me and that girl had a decent relationship until that person kind of came in and kind of just like deemed me uncool in some way. And we never recovered from that. Like every time I would go to church, we wouldn't talk or hang out anymore.
Wow.
And I kind of just like kept to myself. But yeah, that was a moment that I think about that I like as a young kid. I'm like, damn, that was pretty cold rejection right there.
And what that sort of communicates is this idea that like you're not allowed to make mistakes. And I think that's a big thing in friendships and relationships in general, that it's like sometimes it's hard to trust the right people to allow you and to grow with you when you make perceived mistakes, whether they're real in universal truth, or if they're like social faux pas. Like you got to be able to look silly in front of a person in order to have a real friendship, vice versa.
Right.
That's very true.
That is true.
That's very true. What about you? For any of you guys, was there a time you felt rejected?
I think, most recently, it was sort of similar. It was a friendship breakup where I assumed a little bit too much comfort in the family dynamic of my friend's situation. And, what I was communicating was seen as something violent, and inappropriate and uneducated, and that was enough. No, fully
that'll do it.
In the way that it's like even my values came into question, like being told that I am really for the mental health institution and like just pathologizing folks for no reason. And then it becomes a larger thing of like, oh, this is who you are. This must be who you are based on this one thing that you've shown that I've processed without your clarification at all. So I've already made a decision, and that's that. So that felt like a really big rejection of not only like the friendship and just who I am, but like a rejection of being believed, I guess. I think I find that to be really important in a friendship, like having a benefit of the doubt. And like when folks don't give you the benefit of the doubt and then immediately move to ghosting, it is like ghosting is a real epidemic up in this bit. And
because we're very avoidant in this society,
for sure.
And I think that also leans into sort of our individualist society stuff, that is, if something doesn't meet your vision, like keep it moving. Right. And it comes from a place, I think, of punishment as a thing. Like, I'm taking myself away. I'm taking away your access. I'm taking away this, that, and the fourth. And there's no reconciliation for this front until an undefined thing happens. And, more often than not, that is not compatible for either party. So, I think we live in a very, like, crime and punishment ass society, and that
is true.
That really translates to our friendships sometimes. Like, cut that bit off. So there are layers. There are layers, and this isn't relevant to my thing. My thing is like been done. It's just an inescapable sort of like traumatic scar, but. That's the thing about thing about like living life, is that like, okay, I mean, and I survived. Ain't that nice? Yeah. And you learn. Right. It just sucks that learning experiences and friendships more often than not mean that you're not talking to that person anymore if it's something bigger than a conversation. It has to do with readjusting your own values in order to still be compatible, and some people don't want to do that, or like me, maybe I feel I'm strongly in the right, so why would I budge on any old thing? Like, this is it, this is my expectations. So rejection, it can be, I think it really is like, ghosting is a hell of a drug. Folks be taking that thing.
Yeah, that's very true.
Not saying that I haven't, but it's something socially is happening. And it rhymes with misolation.
Isolation.
That's funny. I've definitely experienced rejection. It's weird because it was the rejection, like, I don't even know how to describe it. As somebody who's in theater or in the theater world and acting world, this was a little bit of a different experience, but when I used to take modeling classes, I remember, like, I was very young and naive still, so every time I met somebody new, it was like, they're my friend, and they were really nice to me. I'm like, that's my friend, you're my friend now, I don't have to know anything about you, you're just my friend because we get along so well. Girl, I only knew you for 2 hours, but in my eyes, you're my best friend. So that was just me. I'm like, oh, hi, okay. So I'll never forget, I was in Barbizon modeling school. That's what it was called. I remember we did this challenge where we had to walk down the runway, and I think like you pose at the end, and we were given the instructions of like, if you're going to do this pose, you do this type of smile. If you do this pose, you do this type of smile. So my go-to was always the big, they call it a jar smile. So I always did like the big open mouth, like, that was my thing. That was my signature. And I remember the teacher, at the time was like, we're going to do like a contest. Whoever does the best, walk and the best smile, like you get to pick something or do whatever. I forgot what it was. And a girl that I was friends with, nobody else in the class actually talked to her. I was the only one that actually really engaged with her because she didn't look like the modeling type. You looked at her and you were like, oh, you want to model? Okay. It was just, yes.
Not you second guessing.
It was kind of like, oh, this is what you want to do? So anyway, so she did hers. It was really good. She did hers and then I did mine. And, you know, she was like really rooting for me and I was really rooting for her. And then I remember I won that competition that day, you know, I won for the day. And I remember, you know, that day we were good. We were talking and then I went home and then the next class came up and I saw her again and I was like, hi, you know, we were all excited and she didn't talk to me. And I was like, what's up with that? You know, I'm like, what's going on? And then suddenly she's hanging out with these other girls that didn't even give her the time of day in the beginning. So I'm just kind of like, what's going on? You know, like, what's up with that? And I walked up to her, said, everything okay? She goes, yeah, everything's fine. And I'm like, ooh, okay, cool. You know, me being naive though, I'm just like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. So throughout the day, you know, when we did like, sometimes we had to do like makeup stuff. So we had to have a partner and usually she was my partner. And then this one day she wasn't, she wanted to be the partner with another girl. And then we had to have groups of like 4 or 5. And there wasn't a lot of us in the class, but there was pretty much all 5 of them, including her. And then there was like 3 of us left. And so they were kind of like, well, if you guys want, you can be a group of 3. And the 2 girls in that group, they knew each other, but they didn't know me. And they weren't trying to let me in the group. So I was pretty much alone. I didn't have a group. And so I walked over.
Wild behavior.
It was crazy. And I was like, I walked over and I'm like, oh, you know, like I don't have a group. Can I maybe join? And they were kind of like, oh, sure, you know, and it was a very interesting time for me to realize like, you know, this is a part of that whole friendship rejection thing. Like, I'm cool with you unless you're doing better than me. And then it's like, now I'm done, you know, and it was only one competition. So I'm just like, what's the big deal? But after that, I confronted her. I asked her, I said, you know, did I do something wrong? And she's like, no, everything's fine. And then, you know, but then like, I remember I was fresh. Right. I was fresh with the phone and all this stuff. And I see on Instagram that, you know, they're all hanging out outside of the class. And I'm just like, like, how come I wasn't invited? Like, you know, and so it was a very interesting time for me to learn, like, this is a part of, you know, making friends is you get rejected, you know? And I said, well, I thought we were friends. And she goes, I never said I was your friend. And I remember I was like, alrighty.
Oh my God.
Like, yeah. Yeah, like it was almost like disgusting to her. Like, how could you think I would ever be your friend? Like, it was very interesting. So I had to learn, like, this is a part of the process. You know, sometimes people ain't checking for you. It's nothing that you did. It's just, that's how people be, you know? So that was my rejection story.
Sarah, ask the next question.
Okay. The last time I was worried I was a bad friend.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Good Lord.
I need a long time to process things sometimes. And some of that internal stuff, I mean, I have managed mental health and behavioral health issues since I was 7, actually. Medications since then, therapy since then, a bunch of stuff that is not an excuse for, you know, shortcomings that I may have in my own ability to be a friend, but more just like context. And some of that has to do with when I am in a really low mood or if I am in a depressive episode, you know, it's hard to stay in touch and keep up with friends and with the same accessibility that I had beforehand. Literally being there. Like, it's important to me to always, you know, have some sort of texting opportunity open. I with my crew of friends, I really do have expectations of at least like a text a day type deal. Like like some of my closest, like I got my trio since I was 5 and since I was 12, and like we would spend even our college years like texting each other every day in the group chat, individually. My friends from high school as well, we in the group chat, we're the graphic designers. That's what the group chat name is. The other one is Gerdites because we all have GERD.
Not
Oh,
GERD.
oh no!
It's like Mennonites, but instead it's GERD.
That is too funny.
But like my expectation is like no pressure, even if it's like, here's a TikTok and this is
Yeah.
like
That's
you
connection.
could have all this and talk about all this and I won't respond to it, but here's a TikTok that gives me like, as long as you read it, you know, the next time that we are in person that we're on the same page. Like you know what's going on. Or if I'm able, when you're more available, to be like, okay, remember that thing before, I'm gonna need your response before it's cool, but I'm gonna need your response now. And
So when were you
anyway,
worried that you were a bad friend?
so yeah, getting to that part. So when I'm in a good spot, it's very much like that, and I try to be clear about my intentions with the folks that I do expect like some sort of communication with. But after that, but like on the flip side, it's like, I hope y'all understand, I am inaccessible. I'm unavailable. I'm like watching group chats. I'm like trying to be involved in the ways that I can, but sometimes I need time to process my stuff really individually, which can really, I think, feel like rejection. So most recently, like when I was sick, I was also feeling some type of way, like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to keep getting sick over and over. And then because I'm immunocompromised and, you know, my organs are already deteriorating from my chronic illness anyway, I'm just going to die early. And like all of these really deep and spiraling, snowballing
Not
things.
you reading my mind.
And then also, yeah, fully. And then also like being at a work where it's like, COVID's over. Why are you wearing a mask? This, that, and a fourth. Being in a workplace like that, it's like, oh my God, like, I understand that it's more comfortable to think like you don't have any social responsibility for the slowing of a pandemic and slowing of a virus, but like, we don't have to give up. Right. So anyway, that all this stuff is happening and I'm like not responding to things and I'm dropping social balls and I'm like, you know, I'm just like not present in a way that I want to be. And I feel like I was a bad friend, or I was doing bad friend things in that time because I wasn't responding to things I'd normally respond to. And I didn't clarify my situation. I was just like, I'll have to wrap it up and like explain it after when I'm like digging myself out of this hole. So there's those times where it's like, I think it's cyclical for me, where I feel like I'm worried I was a bad friend because my moods and my emotions are quite cyclical in ways that it's like, dang, okay. In college I was like, I'm not all these things, and then and then I have my second puberty at 25 and I'm like, oh my God.
Yep.
Can you give me some grace?
Right.
That's my bad friend worrying.
I think for me, there was this moment of jealousy that I had with, oh man, now all my bad friend moments are coming up.
Right.
Okay.
I'm seeing, like, for those who are listening, we are on a video call. I'm seeing Sarah, like, slowly sink into her bed, like.
Well, I'm also, like, fighting for my life, sickness-wise.
Oh my
like,
gosh, I'm sorry.
This.
Yes.
No, you're good.
It
but,
jumped
like,
through us all.
Yeah, I know. It's so crazy. But thinking about the bad friend moment, I had this one time where two of my friends were hanging out without me, and I was just jealous because I saw them laughing on Snapchat, and I sent them bitchy messages about it. And then, unfortunately, that was a friend who ended up not being my friend anymore. You know, ghosted me. So, like, you know, it didn't help our situation. Like, already, she probably was feeling some type of way about me already. So me having a moment of jealousy and feeling a little bitchy, and sending that bitchy tats didn't help the feeling. And she like confronted me about it. And I was like, yeah, I was just in the mood. You're good. You didn't do anything. But she also wouldn't let it go.
Right.
I'm still friends with the other person, but like, I think about that as a bad friend moment. Another bad friend moment where, it's like kind of embarrassing to even say this, but my friend ex boyfriend hit on me, and I didn't push it down I didn't push back against it like I should have.
Okay.
Cause you know I like a little attention, so I just said, oh, thank you. You know what I mean? Like,
was it literally, oh, thank you though? Like, what do you mean that's not pushing back? It's like, all right, well, thanks. Let's finish this.
Like, maybe I entertained
moment.
it because he made a joke like, oh, maybe 5 years from now it can be me and you. I was like, ha ha ha, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, but I should have been
you
like,
Mariah
no,
Reynolds
bitch,
did.
no.
Okay,
No,
I
I
understand.
did, yeah, but I did tell her. I did tell her that it happened. 'Cause I
Now
did feel
that's big dog.
guilty.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
I did feel
right.
guilty about that, and that's like one bad friend moment where I kind of allowed because of like being a little attention seeking. And I remember talking to my cousin about this, and she was like, "Bitch, that's not cool." Like she called me out, so she was like, "Sarah," because I was telling her everything that he said to me, and she was like, "Dude, that's uncool of him, but also like." No, that's not funny. That's not cute. And I was like, "Oh, you're right. That is weird, actually." So I did tell my friend about it, and again, that's her ex man, so it is what it is. But that did make me feel guilty because I don't want to be that person. Like, you can trust me around your man. You know what I mean? So that's one bad friend moment that I had.
That's deep.
Sierra, do you have any bad friend moments, or should we go on to the next question?
I mean, mine is pretty simple. I didn't communicate effectively, which is something that, like I mentioned in the previous episode, is like I had to be better at. And there was a situation that occurred, and it was over a simple miscommunication. And I instantly I was already in one of my moods. So when I'm already in my mood, and you call me out about something, yeah, no, it's like it's a wrap. I'm about to go off. And I had a moment. I sent a pretty not nice message back to this person who was just genuinely just being like, hey, listen, what's up with that? And I was like, let me tell you something. And to this day, I still cringe because I'm like, oh my God, they weren't even coming at me like that. They were just saying like, hey,
Why
just
did
so you
I
know,
trip? Why did
right?
I
Can you just
out?
let me know I think it was like if I made it home safely, something. But I was just already in a mood, and I'm like, I'm on my period, da da da, and I don't need to hear this. I was, oh my gosh, I was just angry, and then literally the next day I woke up and I'm reading my message and I'm like, oh my God, girl, what are you doing?
No.
Yeah. And thankfully, it's important. My friend knows me, so she knows like, okay, this is one of those overstimulated responses. So I'm not going to take it personally. But had it been somebody else, they'd be like, I don't want to be friends with you anymore. So, so she knew I wasn't coming at her, but she was like, whoa. She said that message was like, I was just saying, let me know when you get home safe. And I'm like, let me tell you something about your safe. Yeah, so that was my bad friend moment. I just snapped. I didn't communicate, and I just reacted off of emotion. So yeah.
I feel that. The reactions sometimes be getting all of us. Because I have had plenty of my own.
Okay, let's see. How about this? What is the most important relationship in your life? And let's just modify that to what is the most important friendship in your life? I know that may seem like weird to like, oh my God, you have to narrow it down to one person. But you could just think about a friend you have that you generally just, their friendship added something to your life, right? Like, it's not playing the game of favorites. We love all our friends, but like.
Right.
Sarah, start us off. What are you thinking?
Start us off. I think I'm thinking about my ride or die that I knew. Well, there's two people, but one person I'm gonna highlight is I'm not gonna say his name, but he knows who he is, and like he is my best friend and known him since like third grade, and I feel like we became best friends in like middle school, high school. Like somehow we started in like a friend group when there was like four of us, and the other two kind of they were still in the vicinity, but they weren't as close, and we've found ourselves emerged by high school like a tight friend group, a tight close knit me, him, truly best friends. And I think the reason why he's one of the most important relationships in my life is because I think I experienced like true love from him. I grew up in a household where I don't think my parents understood how to love me or what love is, but this is the first time I met someone who truly loved me for who I was and enjoyed my company, and made me feel seen and safe. And he's just a person. He's quite frankly one of the most kindest, loving, and non-judgmental kind of person that you will ever meet. And every time I like feel like I'm messing up or I'm being a bitch or something, I just remind myself, well, so and so likes me, so I can't be that terrible because I don't think he would hang out with like me if I was that shitty of a person. But yeah,
I
I
feel
just feel like
that feeling of
yeah,
like having to step outside of yourself for that perspective, and like recognizing that you do have this, you're putting power in someone's hands to be like, you know what, you're important to me. And I think that's important to relinquish or disseminate that power. And I really like how you said, like, well, at least this person who I know is good and kind and has treated me with so much like care, if they still like me, I can't go that deep in the self-deprecation hole.
no, definitely, definitely. So I think he's one of the most important relationships in my life because I just finally felt what unconditional love felt like from him. So that's
Aww.
why he's one of the most important relationships in my life. What about Frankie or Sierra?
What do you think, Sierra? I feel like I talk too much, but maybe that's my
Oh,
insecurities.
I'm no, no, you're good. I don't know. So I would say one of my friends that I actually met. I met her in middle school, but now fast forward and in high school, I actually got to know her, and I'm still very close with her to this day. Um, I would say that I'm quite thankful for that relationship. That relationship is actually very important to me because we met each other at a time where we both needed a friend.
Yeah.
Having been to 3 different schools, and then, having to make new friends at each school. And here I am from New London, and I go to a performing arts school in Willimantic, and now I'm in Norwich, and I don't know anybody. I mean, there's a few people from New London here, but I don't know them. I don't like them. So, I'm just kind of like, what am I doing? And then she's somebody who, unfortunately, has had some sucky things happen health-wise. So she hasn't really been able to have a real friend group. And that kind of made her like, I don't want to talk to nobody look at me, don't ask me no questions. And I'm the kind of person where I see somebody sitting by themselves, I'm gonna go sit with them. So, after it took almost a year, but I pretty much was forcing her to like, hey, come on, come sit with me, and then eventually it turned into like, we'll text each other, the TikTok thing, we'll send each other TikToks. And she's the kind of friend, it's just like, I don't have to see her all the time. I can just send an emoji or something and she'll send one back, and I'm like, okay, cool, we're both alive still, great, and I'm actually going to be seeing her soon. So, it's just,
Yay.
it's nice to, she's very, very important, to me, that relationship. It's just, I know I'm her piece and she's my piece. So,
Oh, that's very
so
sweet.
it's,
I like
yeah,
that.
so she's cool. Mm-hmm.
And we're just gonna wrap this up on one last question. What is your favorite or your best friendship memory? And I want each of us to answer this. So think deep. Think about one of your favorite memories you ever had with a friend or friends.
Oh my gosh. So many.
I think that some of my greatest times and greatest, memories come from being on stage. Which is
Oh.
kind of random because I just like started doing theater last March, so we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary. But like I in high school was part of an improv group, and I think that it was just a group of my friends and I that really just wanted to hang out and have people watch us hang out, basically. And I really liked those times. I missed the simplicity, I missed the nostalgia, but I especially like, you know what? I'm talking about this thing, but I think what I'm talking about is like, I like friends I can collaborate with. So I think a little bit, I know I'm going all over the place, but if, fast forward a little bit more, I think something as it comes to me that is a little bit more pressing is some of the times that I spent with my college friends who are dear and who I hope to be the godparent and like aunt to their children, basically. Like we're investing. Some of the greatest memories that I had is sitting with them in that college community conference room with all of our stuff, all of our nerd stuff splayed out on the table, and doing like role play for fun. So fully like vulnerability is here. And
yes,
we would just like spend hours into the night crafting stories together. And there's nothing that makes me feel more seen and appreciated and like part of something is when folks want to be creative together and to complete a project which requires commitment. And, you know, we're going to show up at this place at this time each week. And one of my best friendship memories is getting locked out of our room that we were doing Dungeons and Dragons in, and having to figure out, you know, what to do for the rest of the night with all of our stuff sort of locked away. And it became
That's
like
so funny.
one of those loopy like sleepover conversations over and over, and we were able to be like kids again in college. I get we were kids, but you know, I like that taking down of walls while also building something together that is really meaningful. I feel like those feelings translate to what we're doing today even. So it's hard to pin down one moment, but when I'm creating something with my friends.
What about you, Sierra?
Easy. Well, not really, but this is the one that sticks out the most recent. Coming up on the anniversary of my great-grandmother's death, this was in the summertime. She literally died like 2 days before my graduation, and then her funeral was on my graduation, but that's a whole other thing. So I always get very mopey around that time. It never changes. And my friends know, like, that's, you know, it stays with me. I didn't have any closure. I didn't get to say goodbye to her or anything. So it's very, like, I was very close with her. So what my friends did, I was home and I was playing Roblox because that's my comfort game. And I remember my friends texted me and they were like, my friends texted me and they were like, hey, what are you doing? I said, I'm playing Roblox. They said, we're going to join you. What's your username? And I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, we all made accounts. We're going to play with you. And they're like, because we feel bad, you know? And so we played, I kid you not, we played all freaking night. We played till 3:00 in the morning.
That's so sweet.
Like, hysterically laughing. And, like, I was laughing. I laughed so much that day because I was just I was like, oh my God, we were playing different games and role-playing as mom and dad. And it was just so silly funny. Stuff. I love that. Trolling like 10-year-olds. Like in the mic making noises.
Illustrious YouTube careers doing that. So
I mean, listen, and you know, nothing crazy for those of y'all who are listening now. We ain't doing nothing like that, but you know what I mean. Like we were dressed to impress, like different things, and Bloxburg trying to outbuild each other on houses, and you know, just being a pain in the butts. But it was just like wow. And I told them how much we were building houses together, and I told them like how much I appreciated them taking the time to really make me feel happy, knowing how around that time I'm usually no good. So the fact that they all took the time knowing they had to work, you know, the next day, they were like, nope, we're going to stay up and we're going to keep you company and make you laugh. And we're not going to stop playing until you laugh. And, you know, so that was the best memory ever. Oh my gosh. To this day.
That's a really beautiful memory.
Yeah.
Mine's is me and my two friends. It was actually one of my friend's birthday, and she said that she wanted to see the sunrise. So we drove down to Rhode Island. I think it was Napa Point or something in Rhode Island Beach. And we got up early and we drove down there. And what's so funny is that a couple weeks earlier, me and my friend, she was dog sitting, and we took the dog out to that beach, and the dog shitted in front of someone's driveway.
Oh no!
It was wet too, so it's not like we could clean it up. So we just like ran away, right?
Oh no!
Because there was nothing we can do. So we go to this beach, and we're waiting for the sunrise, and we're like, oh, this is kind of boring because we don't see the sunrise. But then we finally see it start to rise, and then we run to the ocean. We're all singing the Lion King, the Hakuna Matata, not Hakuna Matata, but it's a circle of life.
Oh yeah, Circle of Life.
We're
Circle
all
of
hitting
Life,
that. And then as we're leaving, there was a guy who was on the beach. And me and my friend, we kind of look at each other. And then we start walking past the entrance next to the house where the dog pooped. And we watch the guy go into the house. And we're like, what are the odds that, that we basically see the homeowner of the where the dog shitted on the driveway. Anyway, but I like that memory so much because it was just goofy. It felt so carefree, and it was just like three friends celebrating another friend, like trying to make one of their dreams come true, to see the sunrise,
right?
And to do it in the ocean, swaying, laughing, singing the Circle of Life as the sun came up was just a really dope memory.
Aww.
And it just reminds me that a lot of my friendship moments have like cute moments like that are just goofy and carefree, and it just makes me really happy for the friend group that I cultivated. On that note, guys, that's the game. Where should we begin?
Beautiful.
Thank you
game.
guys for joining us and listening in, and we're gonna let you go. I wish everyone the best memories with their friends, and I really hope you guys go out of your way to build and create community. Community is so necessary. So please check up on your friends and hold on to them tight and cherish them. Thank you for listening to the Sunkissed Pod.
You can find the Sunkissed Pod on Spotify and Apple.
And you can join us on Instagram at the Sunkissed Pod to stay up to date on the girls and the ladies.
Ta-ta.